Today I'm going to tell you the story of the capture of Santa Anna. It's not going to seem like it's real. It's going to seem like I made it up, but I promise I didn't. It's based on a lot of credible sources. It's a tale of a stolen horse, fancy underwear, and a little bit of chewing gum. Before we start the story, I want to remind you that the main way to win a war is the capture of the heads of the government. Remember, the government are the people who are in charge of a country. So if you can capture them, you can make them give up. It's not the only war strategy, but it's one of the main ones. I also want to remind you that Santa Anna required his soldiers to address him as El Presidente and bow anytime they saw him. That was a big rule, could get you in big trouble. Now let's start our story. When Santa Anna and his men crossed Vince's Bridge in the days before the battle, he saw a beautiful black horse. Since he liked it, he ordered one of his men to go get it and bring it to him. The horse really belonged to Vince, the guy who built the bridge, and was named Old Whip. Santa Anna ordered his own fancy gold-trimmed saddle placed on Old Whip. When the Battle of San Jacinto began, Santa Anna forced one of his common soldiers to change clothes with him. He knew if he was caught, the Texans could force Santa Anna, the president of Mexico, to sign a treaty to end the war and let Texas be free. However, he didn't have time to switch underwear, and he wore his fancy, expensive underwear under his common soldier clothes. Santa Anna raced Old Whip towards Vince's Bridge to escape, but of course the bridge was already burned. He tried to ride Old Whip across the bayou anyway and got the horse stuck in the mud. So he got off, left the horse in the bayou, and hid. He was found the next morning by some Texas soldiers out hunting for food. He also found Old Whip and brought both of them back. They also found Old Whip and brought both of them back to camp. Since he had on a roughly silky undershirt sticking out of his common coat, and his horse had a fancy saddle, they didn't put him with the regular prisoners and took him to Sam Houston instead. As the Texas soldiers walked Santa Anna to Houston, they passed many Mexican soldiers who were now prisoners. All the Mexican soldiers followed orders and said, El Presidente, as Santa Anna passed. Now the Texans knew for sure who he was. Many of the Texans wanted to kill Santa Anna on sight because of the people he had murdered at Goliad and the Alamo. However, Sam Houston knew better. He knew they had captured the president of Mexico, so they offered President Santa Anna a choice. Either we kill you, or you sign a treaty saying the war is over, Texas wins, and Texas is no longer part of Mexico. You can probably guess what he did. The rest is history, as they say. Santa Anna wasn't allowed to go back to Mexico for a while, so he spent some time in the United States. As a weird ending to an already weird story about a stolen horse and fancy underwear, Santa Anna is often credited for bringing chewing gum to the United States while on this trip. Seriously, I couldn't even make this stuff up. What do horses, underwear, and chewing gum all have in common? Santa Anna and Texas. Who knew? And if you're wondering what happened to Old Whip, well, Old Whip was taken back to Vince, the owner, and his Santa Anna's fancy saddle was auctioned off to the highest bidder, which happened to be a man named Marabou Lamar, who bought the saddle for $300. And Marabou Lamar actually later became one of the first presidents of the Republic of Texas, which we'll learn about soon. All right, no, that was a weird story, but I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to read chapter 15 next.